Hello, in this video I'm going to go over tanking setup that I have figured out that I believe will be a good choice for beginner tanks and learning how to do difficult content. Also, if could be a setup that you just keep because it works so well. And so I'm going to go over what I've pretty much nailed down on this. It works on every class, so that's a good thing. Basically, my focus in this has been to capitalize on two different categories and make sure that those are filled in as well as you can. And the two things that I focused on for this is resistances and block mitigation cap, because those are the two categories in tanking that you can maximize and cap out on. So I tried to basically focus on that. And what I've come into discover is if you focus on building around the Soldier of Apocrypha and the Restoring Light, then you can basically use a third flex for a very specific component of the build, and then you can pretty much handle just about anything for the most part very easily. So let's get into it. Um, so Soldier of Apocrypha, why this is strong. This gives you a ton of physical and spell resistance. If you use the Runic Sunder taunt, it will give you an additional 2200 armor. Passively, this will proc the Aegis of the Unseen while you have the ability active. So instead of just 2200 armor like this, it's actually 5471 armor total from this. So it's a massive amount of armor there. And then you also get a little bit of recovery for slotting that. You give your team minor evasion, and then you can get some ultimate if you consume Crux. The other powerful thing about this taunt right here is it applies minor maim, and then it also will give you a Crux when you cast it, and then while you have the Crux active, your damage taken is reduced by 6% total if you have 3 Crux up. It's 2% per Crux. So this is a really, really strong skill that does a lot of different things for you all at once. It strips armor, does damage, gives you armor, applies minor maim, generates a Crux, and reduces your damage taken, and it procs the Aegis of the Unseen passive. So, and it also gives your team minor evasion. So it does a lot of things all in one button press. So then we're going to use the Impervious Runeward. This is here for the damage shield as well as the heal that it will give you. So you want to make sure that you cast Runic Sunder 3 times to get the Crux up. And then when you hit this, you will get a pretty large heal in and of itself. So basically, if you want to look at the buffed up numbers there, you triple this number here at the very bottom, the 4,657. And then you'll be able to figure out how big your heal is. And if you do that, it's 13,971 of a heal, in addition to doing magic damage the first time somebody strikes you, and then you also get the shield as well. So it is a very strong shield for 1 second, and then it depletes after that for a total of 5 seconds remaining after that. This will also proc the Aegis of the Unseen passive while the shield persists. So you have 2 skills there to keep up this passive, which is really helpful. So Restoring Light gives you a massive ring of a heal every 2 seconds paired with the Restoring Focus. This will passively give you stamina back as well as give you the heal every second. If you can stand in the 3-meter rune, then the heal that this gives is tripled. So basically all you have to do is stand in this rune right here, and as you can see, the heal is fairly large, 3,382 every second. If it crits, it goes up to 5,000. If you pair it with the Restoring Focus, then you've got 2 heals that are ticking quite a bit, and then the block mitigation that this skill line gives you while the Sacred Ground is out is 10%, and then you get also minor mending. So it's increasing your heal as well. So that will also make your shield heal bigger when you cast it. You have to consume a Crux for the heal to activate on the shield. So the other nice passives you have here is this Mending. You get an increase of healing done by 13% in proportion of the severity of the target's wounds. So if you are getting low on health and you pop a heal, you're going to have a 13% bigger heal in those situations. And then the Lightweaver passive, this is really, really strong as well. When you heal an ally that's under 50%, you have them generate ultimate. That is a really nice component to have. And then also, you automatically block an attack when you are channeling in combat. And that is amazing because that accounts for your heavy attack as a channel, as well as something else we're going to cover here in a little bit when I get to some of the other skill lines. But I've got this defaulted to Siphoning. So if you are a Arcanist, Templar, and Nightblade base, this is the setup that I recommend. Pretty much the only skill I use from the Siphoning skill line is this Siphoning Attacks. This makes sustain really, really easy because this gives you magicka and stamina every second, paired with this restoring focus that gives you stamina every second in the amount of 242. And then you have siphoning attacks giving you stamina of 200 every second. That gives you 442 stamina every second as long as you just keep your major resolve skill up. That's all it takes. You don't have to be standing in the rune to get the stamina back. The increased heal is the only thing that happens when you stand in the rune. So everything else on that is passive wherever you're standing. You get the stamina back just for having the skill active. So that is my setup recommendation for the Arcanist, Templar, and Nightblade. So now I'm going to go into subclassing here, and we're going to cover out, Siphoning is the flex. So we're going to cover the other skill line, or the other classes. If you're on a different class than these three, I'm going to show you what to swap out the Siphoning skill on absolutely every class so that this setup will still work very well. The other nice thing is you can pretty much pick whatever gear you want to use. The important thing is that you pay attention that you are at resistance cap when you're completely built, which is really easy with the Soldier of Apocrypha. Basically, all you need to do is build one reinforced heavy piece and then have 5 heavy pieces of gear. I recommend 2 medium pieces for reasons I've covered in previous videos. But I will post that video in the description. It's about why I choose to not wear light armor. I will post that video in the description. Just check out my description. I always put a lot of information in there. But I would also recommend trying to find gear pieces or gear sets that are going to give you one of 3 things: maximum health, armor, and then maximum stamina. Those are really good to look for in heavy armor pieces. Healing taken is really nice to have as well, but I would say maximum health and armor are really, really strong to pay attention to. And then those are probably going to be more current on your 5-piece sets, but you can literally pair just about anything that you want. You just want to make sure that when you are completely buffed up, that you are at the resistance cap and that your maximum health is up and over 40,000 health. So you can figure out what you need to do with your attributes once you have your gear pieces on and your food active, in terms of what race you are. You might have to stack in a little bit differently depending on what you have. The Imperial is a really nice one to use because it has maximum health in the amount of 2,000 and maximum stamina in the amount of 2,000, as well as the red diamond passive. This is absolutely huge. This goes across a lot of different categories that you may not realize. Blocking, everything. Stamina costing skills, ultimate, health costing skills, magicka costing skills. This is a really, really awesome skill for sustain and just build diversity in a tank. So let's get into the skill lines that to use outside of Nightblade. As always, I'm going to recommend that you use a front bar sword and board and a back bar ice staff. I recommend for boss fights using one piece trainee and Druid's Braid for the one piece maximum health bonuses on each of those. An infused, I like to use an infused stamina absorb glyph on my back bar to give me a little bit more stamina back also. I don't use Crusher anymore because the penetration cap is so easy to get to, especially if you're going to use Runic Sunder. You don't need an infused Crusher. The other thing about the Crusher enchant is it only hits one enemy anyway. You can change out your glyph if you want. That's really easy to swap out, but I would recommend that you always use an infused ice staff on the back bar of your tank. That is because of the passive from the destruction staff here, the ancient knowledge. When you equip an ice staff, it reduces the cost of your block by 30%, and it also increases the amount of damage you can block by 20%. So basically what that does for you is if you're on your front bar sword and board, you're going to be able to block a lot of damage. You don't want to flip to your back bar and have that completely just drop off a cliff. That could be an issue where you might get smacked really hard if you're not running an ice staff on your back bar. If you're in more advanced player, then you might be able to squeeze away with something different. But if you're starting out tanking, that would be my recommendation. Another thing to focus on, don't ever fill in the Tri-Focus passive on the Destruction Staff skill line on a tank. This will cause you to block with Magicka, and that is not good. So after that short tangent there, we'll get back to the skill lines. Because I can respec on the fly now, I'm just going to cover this skill line up, and we'll start at the very top here, and we'll go into subclassing. So the very first one that we're going to cover is the Dragonknight. A lot of people have been talking about using Ardent Flame in tanking so that they can get take advantage of the Core of Flame skill. I'm not a fan of this because there's not a whole lot of great passives here for tanking. There are some for recoveries, but honestly, with everything else that's here, I don't recommend using this in a tank build unless you've got a coordinated team that's calling for this. What I would recommend instead is going with the Earthen Heart skill line. And why that is because there's a really nice passive in here for the only one that we're going to use in here is the Obsidian Shield, morph it to Igneous Shield. So we'll confirm that, and we'll so what I use on here is I'll replace this right here, and then what that allows me to do is I can put Revealing Flare on my skill line here on my button there, and that procs the Magicka Aid passive. And then what I'm also going to do is I have the Psijic Order. I don't have this ultimate leveled up, but ideally what you want to do is level the ultimate up all the way to where you can morph it to Temporal Guard. This character doesn't have that leveled up yet. I just recently got the Psijic Order on him, so I'm still leveling up the skills on here. So what that does now is once you have Temporal Guard leveled up all the way, then you're going to get Major Protection and Minor Protection all in one, and then you'll get the Psijic Order shield as well. So that'll be the nice setup for Earthen Heart. And why I'm choosing Earthen Heart is because the passives are really strong paired with this. So we'll go over that as well. So we get a shield, we can replace the Arcanist shield, and we don't really lose out. It's still get a good shield, and it gives us Major Mending, which is going to increase the size of the heals that we're getting from the Restoring Light skills here. So that's going to make these heal for 16% more if we just keep that shield up and keep the Major Mending alive. So also in Earthen Heart, we have passive armor, really good to get to that resistance cap, the strong category of the resistance cap. Then we have a little bit of increased damage done on a tank, nice to have. And then we have the Mountain Giant passive. This right here is going to pair really well with the Lightweaver passive of giving you an automatic blocking. So they changed how the Dragonknight can get passives from the Mountain Giant passive. Now you have to heavy attack, and it will give you extra stamina, which is something you're going to do on a tank anyway. So that Lightweaver passive from the Restoring Light is going to help us do this right here easier without getting clipped when you heavy attack. So it's a lot more forgiving. So that is why I choose the Earthen Heart passive if you're a Dragonknight. And then also, obviously, there's Magma Shell. Really nice if you really need some extra help getting through mechanics. So if you are a Dragonknight, this would be my recommended setup would be Soldier of Apocrypha, Restoring Light, and Earthen Heart. So moving on, we'll check the next skill line or class, excuse me, and that would be Dark Magic from the Sorcerer. I know I'm going real weird with this, but the Dark Exchange is the one that we need to focus on this skill line. And what we're going to do is we're going to put that in that same spot where the siphoning attacks is, and basically the idea is here is we're trying to fill the gap of what does that Nightblade skill do? It gives you resources back fairly passively. So I'm going to put that Arcanist shield back on here, and now we're pretty much back to normal. Let me just put the there we go. Now we've got barrier back on. So now we're pretty much not going to touch the front bar anymore. We're just going to replace this skill on the flex spot. So this skill, Dark Deal, has a 1 second cast time. So again, that light weaving passive that allows us to block automatically when we're channeling, this is going to make this safer. And what this does is as you can see, it costs magicka. It gives you a burst heal, and then it gives you stamina in a flood, and then also stamina over time, and it gives you minor berserk for 20 seconds, which is also nice to have. Not great or essential on a tank, but this is basically your passive. Get out of jail. I need some stamina back. If the other resource here is not doing enough, also we have the chains that gives us stamina as well for the cost of magicka. And then so this is another. I need some more stamina to keep blocking with. You can just let off your block, cast a shield, hit your Dark Deal, and get your stuff back. So why is Dark Magic good? Because it gives you a reduction in your non-core combat abilities. You also get a heal when you cast it. If you're at full health, then it'll give you more max stats in terms of magicka and stamina. Then this will also, after blocking an attack, makes your skills cost less, and then it will give your team minor prophecy. This is kind of a dead passive here because the assassination skill line with the hemorrhage passive is so prominent. So this is not exactly vital. It's nice to have, not essential. So the other passives are all really nice for tanking. They are all true passives in and of itself, not required to have it slotted, but you do have to cast the ability here to get this to benefit. This is a true passive, and then this is also a true passive. So nice to have those, but this right here is as you can see, I have magicka reduction cost jewelry as well as the Imperial makes this extremely cheap to cast. It's a pretty big heal. As you can see, just heals me for 9,000. pretty much. Costs very little to get that. So it's a really nice skill line to use. So we'll move on to the next subclass to pair in. We already did the Nightblade. So the Warden. I am not going to choose the Winter's Embrace here. I'm going to choose Animal Companions. Why? This is a much stronger skill line for tanking, and I'm going to go over why. For one, we're going to get the Betty niche that gives us stamina back for free. Okay? Then we're also going to use the Deceptive Predator for certain situations. And then we also have AoE, Major and Minor Breach, in a really cheap to cast skill there as well. If you really want to get into some stuff there, we can get some minor vulnerability in an AoE. We'll just finish that respec here, and we'll go over why Animal Companions is stronger for tanking than Winter's Embrace. So this has an AoE, Major and Minor Breach, that you can cast that lasts for 10 seconds. This is AoE Minor Vulnerability within 5 meters of the target. Then this is the free stamina. This is the key right here for my R1 button on my front bar. Where is the free stamina resource in each class that I'm flexing in? Also, don't ever forget that this right here is extremely strong. This increases your resources recovery by 20% just for having this slotted. The other thing about the Bull Netch is it's free to cast. In addition to that, it will cleanse negative effects off you. And when you cast this, there is the passive when it ends. So if you recast it, you have a free heal as well. It's not a very large one, but it's there. And that is the Bond with Nature. Anytime one of your companion skills ends, you get a heal. You also generate ultimate when you cast it. You have to be in combat. And then you get increased critical damage, which is nice to have, not essential on a tank. So the other skills that I'm going to talk about is the Deceptive Predator. This is really nice for ad pulls. If you're not really in a situation where you need more stamina, you can put this on. And this is a cleanser for snares, and it also gives you Major Expedition for 4 seconds. In addition to, while you have this slotted, this will give you Minor Evasion passively. So really nice, or excuse me, Major Expedition for 6 seconds, not 4. So it's also fairly cheap to cast, and it gives you the immobilization to snares for 4 seconds. So Major Expedition for 6 seconds, the immobilization to snares is 4. So you can keep this Major Expedition up as long as you keep the immobilization track number there. That's the 4 seconds there. You're going to have Major Expedition. This is really good for going in between ad pulls. So that's my recommendation for if you're a Warden, this would be your setup. So respecking again, we're going to go into the Necromancer, and we're going to take Living Death. Again, I know I'm going a little odd from what I've normally done in the past, but this is a really strong skill line here because you can have Renewing Animation available. And we're going to take Spirit Guardian, and then we're going to take Mortal Coil from the Restoring Tether, and then we're going to go through the passives on this. So this is kind of a 2-button recuperating stamina rather than just a 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the Spirit Guardian here and the Mortal Coil. So what you have to do with this setup for the Necromancer is you have to keep your Spirit Guardian out. And when you have a corpse available, you can suck off the corpse of that, or you can recast the Spirit Guardian when it gets halfway, and it will create a corpse for you. So then you can take advantage of the passive 170 stamina every 2 seconds, and then it will also give you a heal over a time, and then it also increases your healing done while it's slotted. What does the Spirit Guardian do? This will heal you every 2 seconds, and it also reduces your damage taken by 10%. So instead of hitting your shield throw for getting major maim on a specific target, this puts the damage reduction onto you rather than having to hit everything in the room. This puts it on you. So the other thing is, with the Living Death, the passives are fairly good as well. You get increased healing done if you have a negative effect on you. That's pretty much going to be pretty common in tanking. Then you have the increased critical chance for healing based on the severity of your wounds, so you have a higher probability of getting a critical heal. Then you also generate ultimate when you consume corpse. And this right here, while you have your Spirit Mender active, you have increased recoveries. So let's just hit the potion there, and we'll hit that, and then we'll take a look at the recoveries that I have is up and over 2,300. But if I have the Spirit Guardian out, you can see it jumps up to 2,500. That makes a lot of this stuff extremely easy to manage in terms of resources. As you can see, it gets my recoveries up quite a large amount, and that is a unique recovery that you're getting from that passive of Undead Confederate. It's not a minor intellect or anything like that. It's a true unique passive that will stack with major intellect and minor intellect if you get those two together. So those are the passives or the skill lines that I suggest into working into if you're interested in trying this tank setup. Those are the setups that I recommend. For the champion tree, we'll just go into that really quickly. I recommend using Ironclad and Duelist Rebuff for pretty much everything. And then I have Bulwark slotted, and then I have Reinforced. So before I close out the video, I'm going to explain why I'm using this. And that is because shields stack. So this being present when you block, if you watch when I block, see that red ring? That's reinforced. That champion tree slottable can activate for 3 seconds once every 10 seconds. So all you have to do is brace, and it's there. So count to 7 seconds or so, and then you can brace again, and there it is. So that activates quite a bit. Now, why am I talking about this? Because when you stack into certain categories on here, such as block mitigation, like this, or block cost, all of these, every time, and also damage taken, every time you stack into that, you get a diminished return amount. With shields, you can stack shields for days, it doesn't matter. You can stack all the shields you want. So this shield right here will stack with the reinforced shield because shields stack. That's also the first line of defense. When you absorb damage, your shields hit first. So also on top of that, if you are going to be in a situation where you are slotting the Psijic Order, we'll just put that over the top here. Now we have 2 shields when we brace. We have the 5,000 shield, the concentrated barrier. This happens when you brace, and then you have to not block for 10 seconds to have that reoccur. So you have that shield triggering, and then you also have the reinforced shield triggering. So that's 10,000 plus shields You can see the red ring and the Psijic Order shield right there. Then you also have the shield that you have here. So you can get to your block mitigation cap, and it'll just cover where I'm at with that. I'm at 87, which is pretty high. It's not at cap, but there's only 3% left to get there, and that really is difficult to get there because when you get this high in the block mitigation category, you really got to move the needle to get it up and over the 90% that is the cap. So that's my blue tree slottables that I recommend for pretty much most situations. I don't change those. Ironclad and Duelist Rebuff, and then Bulwark and Reinforced. And so the red tree that I have, I always slot Boundless Vitality and Fortified. For boss fights, I recommend Bastion and Bracing Anchor. For trash pulls where you don't have as much of a need to block because the stuff dies quicker, I recommend Celerity. And then this one right here doesn't come up very often, but this will keep your magic or recovery up 500 when you're running around in between ad pulls and pulling things in, especially really nice on a off tank. This will help get your magic or recovery up even more so. So try that out. I felt like it's a really nice thing to try and put in there. Some of this other stuff, situationally, there's obviously, depending on what content you're using, you may need to change that to do something else. But those are the things that I've been trying out currently. So why did I start changing this up? I'll go into a little bit further here before I close out the video. I've been using the Battle Scrolls add-on to analyze damage. And so what I do is I go into a content. I went into Black Rose Prison and tanked the first round, got into the second round to kind of analyze what damage looks like in there. And so you can go into your damage taken, and then you can see what type of damage do you take. As you can see, 87% of the damage I took was direct, and it was all single target. There was virtually no AoE damage that I took, and then there's no dot damage that I took. So basically, I'm trying out what are these worth to slot. Enduring Resolve and Unassailable. If they're not really worth slotting, then I'm not going to try to use them. And I've felt like I've gotten a lot more help out from Bulwark and the Reinforced. Now, I'm not sure if that is just an error in how the add-on in and of itself reports the damage. But if it's not reporting as those damage types in the system, then I'm not going to slot to, I'm not going to waste a CP node for 12% of the damage that I'm taking. In addition to that, I also went into Lucent Citadel and flipped the hard mode banner and analyzed the damage taken there. For Count Ryelaz, as you can see, the damage there is 77% direct and some dot damage there. However, there's no AoE. Now, granted, this is not with the ad pull coming out. This is just me fighting the single boss and just analyzing damage taken. This is not a across the board measurement. This is just what I'm seeing so far in my testing. And so I've kind of made an educated adjustment to see how it works. With Zilyesset, it's 100% direct damage single target. So with that fight, it would be not very good while the ads are out to have these slotted. I'm just trying to maximize my slottables here to find out if that makes the job easier. So I'm trying to get the most bang out of the 4 slots that I get, basically. So that's what I basically started out with here. I will probably do a build video after this with these setups to kind of go over recommendations for main tank and off tank and whatnot, or dungeons. We'll see what happens with that, or how well this is looked at. If people are wanting more tanking videos regarding this, then I'll look into that. But I'm going to end the video here. If you thought this video was helpful or interesting, please consider liking the video and subscribing to my YouTube channel. I will see you in another video. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.